Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Another day, another massive piece of drama here in the T2 world. A shock announcement yesterday of Aura Esports dropping their roster right before Christmas, and not far before we believe we're going to get announcements as to what the challenger situation is going to look like for next year's VCT. So much reaction to this one, understandably, from all around the world, really. So many players sharing their frustrations at the current situation in Tier 2. What is the future going to be here? Can their situation be appropriately resolved? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. NRG as well. They say happy birthday to Crashies for yesterday. I don't know why they haven't confirmed these yet. I'm sure they will in due course. They're probably going to wait around a little bit until after Christmas at this point to confirm their full roster for the new season. We're pretty convinced it's going to be Marv, Victor, Crashies, Demon1 and Ethan. And obviously NRG tweet out it's always drop the roster, leak the roster, etc. And Chet's like, look, just drop it already. So we're pretty sure that it's a done deal, that everything is signed and everything like that. But getting things confirmed seems to be taking longer than we might have expected. Plenty other roster drama though yesterday. Firstly, G2 Esports, of course, their Gozen female roster releasing Glance from their team. Like, they kind of fell short of their expectations, I guess, for the World Championship. Realistically, they were never the favourites going in. They did very well. They didn't quite make it over the line in the end. Of course, Shopify Rebellion got the victory over Team Liquid's team after G2 Gozen went down to them. So I guess, you know, they'll build around Mimi and, you know, maybe Petra, Sarah. We'll see what they decide to do. But Glance is on her way out, unfortunately. Speaking of game changers, we'll get to more of that in a second. But James F is back on the timeline, baby, and talking about Evil Geniuses. So we talked yesterday some rumours on EG, and some interesting rumours at that. But we also wondered what's going to happen to Jorgamo and Com. Where are they going to go? What's going on? Because let's be honest, there was a rumoured EG team that was leaked a while ago that didn't even include these guys. Or maybe Com was there, but there was no Jorgamo. But no, they're going to be back apparently. The rest of the team has got offers elsewhere and has seemingly accepted those offers, as have Evil Geniuses with the respective buyouts. So we know full well 100T Boost Joe, Demon1 Ethan to NRG, Jorgamo and Com. Gotta feel bad for them in some respects, given that their teammates of the team that just won the World Championship are now gone, and of course, kind of their best teammate to that. But Potter will be tasked, according to James F here in the replies, to do it again. Potter will continue coaching the team and build up the roster once again. So, look, she had a massive challenge on her hands last year to make a success of this team, and somehow they achieved beyond, I think, anyone's wildest expectations, really, of Evil Geniuses. You know, if she can do that again, it'd be, you know, absolute miracle worker from her perspective, because finding another talent like Demon1 is probably going to be a bit of a challenge. We'll see how it goes. This I thought was pretty funny, though, from Tanmay putting together a theoretical roster that they might come up with. Comet, Jorgamo, Baby J, Sinatra, Daznard. So, you know, we're making it out of challenges with this one, baby. But, you know, we did hear yesterday the rumours that Baby J possibly links to this team. We don't really know on that one, but there has been potentially a bit of a crossover there, so we'll stay tuned on that. Like Sinatra, Daznard, like, I don't know about that one, but we'll see what these guys decide to do if they're not in, you know, the VCT with Evil Geniuses for next season. But you've also got to say that, let's be honest, for North American talents, they have effectively 25 spots. There's 5 North American teams. Okay, sure, now there's kind of 6 with the guard and everything coming in, but, you know, just the way this league is structured in Tier 1, I don't think it massively helps many players from Tier 2. It's the same thing in South America, Brazil, where, and they've said this as well, that players in Tier 2 in Brazil, there aren't really that many options in the Tier 1 league, just because it's the Americas. There's, you know, 5, okay, 6 now with the guards, American, you know, North American teams, and then 5 South American, you know, Central American, Brazilian teams. So it just makes it difficult for a lot of Tier 2 players to even get a spot in Tier 1 in the first place. Most esports have more spots available for their top players from various regions. And sure, like, if you're a tier player from North America, you can go and play for Fury or Crew Esports, but it's probably not going to happen. Or you can go and play for Talent Esports or T1 Esports in another region, or Carmine Corp in the case of Narrate, as we discussed yesterday. So I think, as we're going to discuss Tier 2 in a second, it's got to be noted that the Tier 2 situation is somewhat hindered by the fact that the progression to Tier 1 is more difficult just because of the lack of spots. Because it's such a global esport, it's just difficult to have enough spots in Tier 1 for all the players that maybe deserve it, but that's a debate we'll get to in a second. Now, DSG, they will probably return, I think that Toaster said, to the challenger scene going forwards. We don't know what their plan is going to be quite yet, though, and they will also be re-evaluating their VALORANT Game Changers roster. They obviously had a heartbreaking run. They basically lost to a team that cheated, then they went out of the losers bracket, and there was really nothing that they could do as a result of that. So, they say thanks to all their players. Tough time, of course, for everybody involved, and even Hannah, as a result of this, then decides that, it's in her best interest to stop competing and go and finish school, which is, I think a good decision on her part. But it's just kind of sad, right, that some of these players, they compete in Game Changers, they do pretty well, unfortunate circumstances befall them, and then, they just retire from competing at such a young age. It's just kind of sad. But I get it. And complexity as well. They also say that after evaluating the future of their involvement in the space for months, that basically after just sitting on their hands and deciding what they're going to do, they're going to move on from their GC team. So we're seeing this everywhere. These organizations don't have the money to fund some of these projects. So lots of GC teams getting dropped now, shortly after, of course, the GC World Championship itself. But this is the one that really put the cat amongst the pigeons last night, was Aura Esports. So this, tier 2 organization, they've been around for a little while. They supported, they qualified, they did well. They won the relegation matches they needed to win to stay in challenges going into the new season. They made signings over the off-season as well. And now, after careful consideration, they say, we have decided to part ways with our VALORANT team and leave the 2024 season. This decision was not made lightly. We want to express our gratitude to the players for their time with us and wish them nothing but the best in their future endeavors. Now, the reason why this caused so much controversy really was because they could have done this months ago. You know what I mean? If they didn't want to compete anymore, if they wanted to step away, if they were considering stepping away, they could have done so months ago, because some of the players that have been contracted or signed to these guys and either weren't getting paid or were going to get paid when the season starts, all of a sudden are now dropped on their necks just before Christmas. These are guys that could have signed for other teams, could have played elsewhere, and Merry Christmas, right? You've now been dropped on your neck, basically, and are now jobless. So, guys like Rooney, for example, formerly of Cloud9, of course, he joined this team not long ago, and now he's a free agent again. He could have potentially got a better spot somewhere else, and this is the frustration from the way some of these organizations handle these things, is that it tends to be not in the best interest of the players, the way that it tends to go. Like the likes of Rooney could have potentially, we've seen Governor and Ban and Rossi and Narrate, these players go to other regions. Yay, for example. There's players, Rooney maybe could have been in a conversation with one of those teams to go and join one of these other rosters. But that's not happened now, and probably it's too little, too late in some respects. So that's where a lot of the frustration really comes through here. Of course, Paincakes also says unrestricted free agent. So at least they're not holding them to a buyout or anything, but Aura Esports are gone. So UFA, he's going to try and find an option. And look, I'm sure these guys will find spots and they'll try and compete in tier 2. And maybe they'll have to go through the qualification stages, but just lots of frustrations and understandably lots of reaction. And even Dazzle, right, who was most recently on Turtle Troop, has decided to retire from competing. Look, he's been around for a long time, competed for a decade. So wishing Dazzle the best in his future endeavors, of course. But just all of this happened in one day, where organizations in tier 2 gone, players in tier 2 unrestricted free agents, and then legendary figures in the scene such as Dazzle straight up gone, right? And we even saw, for example, this is back in back in June, when they had the relegation tournament where Turtle Troop and Aura Esports made it back in. So they were going to be in the upcoming season for challenges, but as we're going to see in a second, so many of those teams are now disbanded or gone entirely. So lots of comments on this from, look, Dapper is in a decent spot. He's been on Sentinels, he's made a decent amount of money, he's got investments, like, he's in the better position than most of these guys, and he admits so in the reply to this tweet. And he's also an Oxygen Esports, which seem to be, they've got funding, they're going to stay around for the time being. These organizations always survive until they all of a sudden don't. So hopefully that's not the case with some of these teams. But let's be honest, right, many of these teams have had massive investments over the last few years, basically with the intention to get into the Partnership League. I think this is what Jakob Toft Anderson said over at 100T, is that the reason why so many of these organizations have been so carefree maybe with their spending is because their intention has been get into franchise and get into partnership. And in the lead up to those decisions, teams invested big. Now those decisions have been made to some degree. They're now having to cut back and the money isn't really there. I think a lot of parties are at fault for this. The way the tier 2 scene is structured isn't as good as it could be. Dapper says that, the writing's on the wall. As soon as franchising happened, an artificial line was drawn, the tier 2 scene was going to be in a tough spot. I think the way that it's structured from the, management down from the right game side isn't as good as it could be. Then again, does any esports really have a good tier 2 scene? Even in regular sports, apart from collegiate stuff, there isn't really great, tier 2 isn't that well supported. really anywhere, especially in the esports world. So it's an unfortunate reality. I think that, as I said earlier, the amount of spots in Tier 1 definitely affected to some degree. Is Tier 2 dying though? Possibly. I mean, like, the players are always going to be around. I don't think statements like this, I mean, Leo Farrier, you guys remember when he came up with this and said that, well, our intention for Tier 2 isn't stability. That's not what we're trying to achieve here. Which means that organizations are going to come and go. They're not just going to commit to it forever. We've got Ethan saying that all these orgs, dropping out of Tier 2 and Game Changers looks like NACS all over again, which, many players from NACS left to go to VALORANT when the opportunity was there because all of this stuff was tending to happen. The organizations, I think, are partly at fault as well. A lot of them have spent too much money for what they can afford, and the way they handle and treat the players at times isn't always for the best. I mean, we've seen with all esports here dropping out in the time that they are. The players as well, to some degree. I know there was always talk about this just because, the players ask these Tier 2 teams for salaries that they possibly can't really afford, and you can argue on what side the fault really lies on that. And then when the team does well and somebody wants to sign the player from the Tier 2 team up to Tier 1, that organization needs a buyout there, because otherwise there's no point in the organization really existing. But yet the player will think, oh, I'm better than this organization, like, get me out now, I'm being held in contract jail. And sure, contract jail does exist and it can exist, but I think, the players also have to understand that the organizations have to make this work from a business point of view as well. So just lots of issues in the esports space. It's difficult to monetize, lots of carefree spending over the last couple of years with the zero interest rate phenomena, which is now coming back to bite many of these teams. It was an inevitability, but this is where we are. So as Coco points out, these are the teams that are remaining. TSM are gone. So this is from VCL, like Challengers North America. TSM are gone. G2 had moved to the VCT. The Guard are dead, is what he says. FaZe have stopped, basically. It seems like FaZe are out of there. Or Esports. So, well, we've now just seen they're gone. Now, so that leaves M80, who maybe should have got the place instead of EG. It was the rumor, at least. Moist and Shopify have come together. And then Oxygen stay for now. So this is basically it, right? Oxygen is still there, Moist Shopify is still there, M80 is still there, but basically everybody else is gone for some reason or another, which definitely raises the question, I would say, for what happens with challenges going forwards. We've heard rumors and the dates on when the Game Changers side is going to begin. We don't yet know when the qualification is going to be for challenges, what organizations may or may not return. It's a really tricky and interesting spot, but very much intrigued to your perspective on all this stuff in the comment section below. Just also to mention that Durka, we know he's a massive Icebox lover, and maybe Toys here from Laos agrees as well. He says get rid of Sunset and then put Icebox back in, but very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.